It was a bright morning in the bustling city, where towering skyscrapers touched the clouds and the world moved in a relentless race for success. Yet amidst the chaos, there was one man who had learned to build his empire with patience, determination, and integrity. His name was Arman, a self-made millionaire whose journey from rags to riches had become the kind of story newspapers loved to tell. But while the world saw only his success, only he knew the quiet sacrifices behind it. His elderly mother, Amina, had been the guiding light of his life, raising him single-handedly after his father's untimely death, working endless hours as a tailor in a small workshop, stitching clothes under dim light so her son could go to school and dream of a future bigger than the narrow lanes of their neighborhood. And Arman never forgot her sacrifices, not even for a single day. Even after he built a business empire that spanned multiple countries, owned luxurious villas, and drove the most expensive cars, he still made sure his mother lived with him in his grand mansion, surrounded by comfort, though what she cherished most was simply his presence, his smile, and his respect. However, as fate would have it, the story that was about to unfold in Arman's life would not be about wealth or business, but about betrayal, trust, and the shocking realization that love can sometimes wear a mask. Arman was engaged to a young woman named Sarah, a woman whose beauty was as dazzling as her ambition was sharp, and though she presented herself as gentle, kind, and respectful to everyone around, there was something hidden behind her perfectly rehearsed smile, something that Amina, with her mother's instinct, had sensed from the very beginning. For Sarah's eyes often flickered with impatience whenever she had to serve tea. Her tone sometimes carried sharpness when she thought no one was listening, and her interest in Arman seemed to burn brightest when the discussion involved his wealth, his lifestyle, and his global connections. But blinded by love, or perhaps softened by his desire to settle down and give his mother a daughter-in-law she could lean on, Arman had ignored those warnings, convincing himself that Sarah would change with time, that her love for him would grow beyond material comforts, until one unexpected day changed everything forever. For life has a way of tearing the masks off when we least expect it. Arman had planned a short business trip abroad and informed everyone that he would be gone for a week, which left Sarah at the mansion with his mother, a chance he thought would help them bond, because he wished nothing more than for the two most important women in his life to share love and respect for each other. But destiny had other plans. 3 days into his trip, Arman's meetings. Realizing that love can blind even the wisest of men, but respect for a mother must never be compromised, no matter what. Finally, unable to contain himself, Arman stepped into the room, his voice calm yet trembling with an intensity that made the air heavy. "Sarah, what did you just do?" And in that moment, Sarah's face turned pale, her arrogance collapsing as she realized he had seen everything. But what Arman did next would be something no one in that mansion, no one in his family, and no one who knew him would ever forget. And before I reveal what his shocking actions were, dear viewers, remember, life often shows us who truly belongs in our circle and who only comes to take advantage, so always cherish those who love you selflessly, especially your parents, for their prayers are more valuable than all the wealth in the world. And if you want to know what Arman did in this moment that changed his life forever, make sure you subscribe to this channel, so you don't miss the next chapter of this unbelievable story. Concluded earlier than expected, and instead of informing Sarah or his staff, he decided to return home quietly, wanting to surprise them both with gifts he had bought, imagining the smile on his mother's face when he walked through the doors earlier than promised, thinking how Sarah would rush to greet him with joy. But what awaited him was not joy, it was a sight so painful, so unforgettable, that it shook the very foundation of his soul, as Arman quietly pushed open the grand wooden doors of his mansion. The sound of his suitcase wheels muffled by the soft carpets. He heard faint voices coming from the living room, but not the kind of voices that spoke of laughter or warmth. It was the sharp, cruel tone of Sarah, her words dripping with contempt as she lashed out at his elderly mother. And as Arman stepped closer, his heart pounding, he froze when he saw the scene before him. Sarah standing over Amina, who was sitting weak and fragile in her chair, raising her foot and kicking the old woman harshly, shouting words that pierced Arman's heart like knives. "You're nothing but a burden, old woman. You act like this house belongs to you, but soon it will all be mine, and you'll be sent away where you belong." And Amina, though hurt and in tears, remained silent, her dignity unbroken, as though she had known this cruelty would surface one day. For a moment, time stopped, the walls seemed to close in, and Arman's entire body trembled with rage, shock, and disbelief, his mind screaming that this couldn't be true, that the woman he had chosen as his life partner, the woman he had defended when others whispered doubts, was capable of such brutality towards the one person who meant the world to him, his mother. His blood boiled, but he forced himself to stay hidden for a few seconds more, to hear every poisonous word spill from Sarah's lips, words that revealed her greed, her disdain, and her true nature. And as he listened, his heart shattered into 1,000 pieces.